Am I audible?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great.
good morning, good afternoon, good evening, from wherever you are joining us from. We do welcome you to the Productivity Z360 broadcast for today, the 7th of November 2023. We are glad that you've taken time to join us. Today is a beautiful day. The discussions are very relevant to the transformative agenda of the government. My name is Yvonne Kanenga Nawila. I am your moderator for this session alongside my colleague Eugene Walusiku. The Productivity Z360 is a program that we are airing every first Tuesday of the month, and this is our 4th edition. In the previous discussion, we took time to launch this program with the Honorable Minister, who emphasized the importance of productivity in the country. We further went on to discuss productivity statistics for the country. You may be aware that Zambia's productivity levels have been low. According to the Zambia Productivity Report, productivity declined from the period 2019 to 2020 of about 21%. Zambia's standing on the global stage in terms of labor productivity is worrying, as currently we are sitting at $4.5 per man hour, which is actually low compared to the SADC requirement of about $9.18 per man hour. All these are concerns of productivity in the country. And us from the National Productivity Development Department are delighted to bring this program to raise awareness on how we can improve our productivity. And so today we are discussing the 4th industrial revolution, which is going to be brought to us by Mr. Sonny Zulu, who I'm going to introduce in a while. But before I do that, allow me to invite Eugene with a 1-minute nugget on productivity.
Good morning, and thank you, Yvonne, for that brief introduction. As we are talking the 4th Industrial Revolution, or 4.0, as it is fondly called among some circles, I thought maybe we'd start off with a quotation from Larry Page, the former CEO of Google. And basically he says, always deliver more than is expected. And I thought that speaks very well to what we'll be discussing today, because technology allows us to do a lot more. It's a useful tool that allows us to focus on being productive instead of being busy. So I think we are all looking forward to today's discussion, and we should be able to see the implications for our country context as a result of this discussion that we'll be having. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eugene. So before I can invite Mr. Zulu, allow me to show you a video, just 1-minute video that gives a brief history of where we're coming from. What a very good transformation I think the world has gone through. Today we are in the fourth revolution. Allow me to introduce the speaker for today, who is Mr. Sonny Zulu. So Sonny is the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of Standard Chartered Bank, PLC. Prior to this role, Sonny was the head and Managing Director of the Consumer, Private and Business Banking at Standard Chartered Bank, UAE. He was responsible for developing and driving the retail business strategy while balancing governance, financial performance, risk management, distribution, and people development. Sani also served as the regional head of strategic transformation, alliance, and performance management for Africa and the Middle East at Standard Chartered Bank. Before relocating to Dubai, Sani was the head of retail banking for Standard Chartered Bank Zambia and Southern Africa. He took up senior leadership responsibilities at a very young age, and he has held a number of senior executive roles in the bank, which included head of retail clients, general manager for distribution for Zambia and Southern Africa, and head of corporate affairs. As an entrepreneur, Sani is a joint owner of Air Mafuta Aviation Services. This is a family business which supplies aviation fuel to both local and international clients. Sani holds an MBA from Manchester Business School, and he has a degree in metallurgy and mineral processing from the University of Zambia. As part of his personal development, Sani has completed several executive programs at Oxford University in the United Kingdom, Duke Corporate Education in Singapore, and INSEAD in Singapore. Sani is married to Ngosa, and he has 3 sons, Joshua, Josiah, and Joel. Outside the work arena, Sani enjoys traveling, astronomy, natural history, and following latest nature and science discoveries. This is a very wealth of experience from our presenter this morning. I'm sure we are going to benefit a lot. It's a privilege to have Mr. Zulu in our midst, and we are very grateful as a ministry for he accepted our invitation for this Productivity Z360. So viewers, this is a live stream program, and you'll be allowed to ask questions on the live stream chat box. We'll be able to respond to the questions. So for now, allow me to welcome Mr. Sonny Zulu on the stage, who is joining us from Standard Chartered Bank Zambia. Welcome and good morning, Mr. Zulu.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. A very, very good morning, and good morning to everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. We're very happy to meet you. The last time I met you, it was in Livingstone during the ZERIM conference, and we had a little bit of some chat. And I promised that I think your wealth of experience is something that the ministry and the citizens in the labor sector, I think, needs to benefit from. And so today we are very happy to host you, and the floor is now yours. So I'll take the backstage and allow you to share your presentation with the audience. We'll follow up this with some questions that will come on our chat box, should we have any, and any other reflections that will come from different people this morning. So thank you very much, and the floor is yours.
Fantastic. Let me just get the slides from my computer so that we can be able to see that. Let me just do that. I hope that you'll be able to see my screen. Just hold on very shortly. All right, just give me a sec. I think I need to do something on my screen for you to be able to see my screen.
Okay. So as Mr. Zulu is setting up his screen, please, you can introduce yourself in the chat box. You can tell us your name and where you are joining us from, and the institution that you are representing. Thank you so much. Please ask your questions in the chat box. We'll be more than glad to respond to them.
Okay. Okay, it's just processing for some reason. It's taking a bit of time. I'm not so sure why, but let's just allow it to process. Okay, so I'm not so sure. Are you able to see my screen now? Yvonne, if you can help me, are you able to see the screen?
Yes, I'm able to see the flyer.
Fantastic, good. So there we go. So part of this has already been shared, so I'm not going to take a lot of time on this. The first industrial revolution, we know that's when the steam engine came in, and there's a lot of mechanization, water, steam power, rapid industrialization. Interestingly, the locomotive only arrived in Zambia in 1905. If we move on to the second industrial revolution, there was electric power, mass production, assemblies, and the first power station only came in Livingstone in 1906 in Zambia. We move on to the third industrial revolution from 1969, and that's where we saw the computers coming in, the chip coming in, automated production, electronics, and so on. And, you know, by the time I was going to the university myself in 1996, we were still learning MS-DOS. So there's a bit of a delay in terms of some of these things, our technologies are coming our way. And on the fourth industrial revolution, this is where we are today. This is the time of the artificial intelligence. We've got a Web3. I hope everybody, you know, that is connected today, you know what Web3 is. We've got a virtual reality. We have got augmented reality. Virtual reality is really the digital, being brought into the reality, and the augmented reality you're mixing, or you're bringing together the virtual or the digital and the physical. We've got robotics, we've got Internet of Things, we've got 3D printing, and we've got so much that is happening around this time. And what we have seen over this period is that the impact of this is bringing in growth in the economy. So if you look at all these kinks that we are seeing on the screen in terms of GDP per capita growth, when the first industrial revolution started, there's a bit of a lag, but you see that the economy then begins to grow. That is that people then are well off. The second industrial revolution, you see the second kink, and the third industrial revolution, you see the third kink. And now the fourth one, where we are, this is amazing. This is the highest growth that we have ever seen, ever. You know, before the first industrial revolution, it was, kind of like flattish. With where we are now, this is a time of growth. This is exponential growth. However, it is important for us to know that we will have the haves and the have-nots, because the ones who know and are jumping onto the wagon, they are going to experience growth. That's why today we are seeing companies that have really gone on this, market capitalization over $1 trillion. This is the first time that we're having that. Never in the past would you have a company having that kind of market capitalization. But at the same time, there are those that have continued in the old ways and they do not grow as much. And the next slide that I'll show you is actually not, sometimes when I look at this slide, I'm kind of a bit depressed. So if you look at that, you see that by regions, somehow Africa is lagging behind. You see the other regions, they have really gone up. This is the same GDP per capita. Africa, we are somehow lagging behind. So we are still cultivating with our hands when our friends have mechanized. We are still doing things manually, and sometimes in the fear, unfounded fear, I'll say, that people will lose jobs, and therefore we want to give people employment. We are going the manual way. We will never feed the world. We will never grow our GDP. We will never get to the place whereby one person in terms of GDP per capita is getting to in the excess of 5,000 to 6,000. In some countries, by the way, these are averages. We've got countries today that are doing in excess of 50,000, 60,000 GDP, in fact, about 54,000, I must say, GDP per capita. And it is very, very possible. Africa, we're still behind. And if I bring it home a little bit, look at this one. So if you look at the year 2000, right? Say year 2000, we were still below $500 GDP per capita in Zambia. We started kind of improving, somewhere between 2000 and 2010. But this is still very low. And the reason why I'm saying this picture is not very good for us, because if you go to the previous picture, look at the year 2000, Zambia, we were below $500. The rest of Africa by 2000, on average, it was about 1,000. Now, I know there's some countries that are doing well, some countries that are not. But most of this has a lot to do with how we have adopted the fourth industrial revolution. And I'll be able to share that. Now, if you look at what really impacts growth, what really impacts productivity, there are a few things that I would like to talk about, and all of these are linked. So, the revolution on its own will not be able to change, because revolution may be happening across the world, but not everybody will be able to benefit from it. So it is very important for me not only to talk about AI, not only to talk about Internet of Things, but to talk about how everything comes together. So number one, it's critical, is leadership. Everything lies and falls on leadership. This is, or rises and falls on leadership, quoting John C. Maxwell. Now, I love what the UAE or Dubai president said, leader said, we in the UAE have no such words as impossible. It does not exist in our lexicon. Such a word is used by lazy and the weak. It's used by the lazy and the weak who fear challenges and progress. When one doubts his potential and capabilities as well as his confidence, he will lose the compass that leads him to success and excellence, thus failing to achieve his goal. I require you, youth, to insist on number one. So just to paint a bit of color, his motto is UAE must be number one in everything. And he is driving everybody, inculcating that in everyone's mind, that we should have the tallest, we should have the fastest, we should have the biggest, we should have the longest, and he doesn't care where else in the world it is, says we have to do that. So leadership is critical. It has to be visionary, decisive, secure, risk taker, not looking at self seeking, but most importantly, humility is very critical for us to, as leaders, to have that humility approach. Now, that is what is going to drive, because a visionary leader will be able to see what is happening across the world, what are the trends, what do I drive? But there's something else that I like to, and this might be a bit controversial, but it's something that I have seen that really helps for us to be able to improve our productivity. This is Lee Kuan Yew. Lee Kuan Yew is a leader that has transformed Singapore, completely transformed Singapore from a poor fishing country to where it is today. What did he say? I'm often accused of interfering in the private lives of citizens. Yes, if I had I not done that, we wouldn't be here today. And I say without the slightest remorse that we wouldn't be here. We would not have made economic progress if we had not intervened on every personal matters. Who your neighbor is, how you live, the noise you make, how you spit, or what language you use. We decide what is right, never mind what the people think. Now, this might be a controversial approach because we have all been raised to be democratic. We have been all raised to go with what the people say, what the people want, and everything else. But you'll be able to see that in many cases, if you go that approach, development, productivity, because it's what the people want, it's going to be very, very low. So we need to be looking at decisive leadership. We need to be looking at leadership that will be able to say, you know what, like the way we run our homes. Our homes, we don't debate. And, the kids don't say, you know what, we want to be eating chicken and chips all the time. We want to be, no. The parents have to come to the point where you decide and you help to ensure that they're going in the right direction. Because to assume that everybody in the streets, they know what is right, I think it is a wrong approach. And we can be able to learn a lot from a leadership perspective. I want to move on to skills and capabilities, because this also helps as we are in this fourth industrial revolution. it is important for us to be able to catch up. And I am so passionate about this. If we continue learning about the proconsuls, trust me, we will not catch up on the fourth industrial revolution. If we continue learning about the grasshoppers, we will not. And we have to take a bold step, a very, very bold step, and saying enough is enough. Our friends are learning quite a lot about what is happening today, and we are still teaching ourselves and our children this old stuff that still exists. And I'm talking about not only in the primary schools. I'm going to show you this. This is what is being taught today, and this is a book that is there in banking and finance today. And I have it. I have it even with me here. My people who are studying this, they have this book. Mail transfer. What is mail transfer? Travelers checks 2023, and it's still there. And it's still there because, look, for various reasons. No, the textbooks delay this and everything else. But if we continue on this path, the fourth industrial revolution, it is running away, and we still continue in our old ways. The new payment methods now. Who is teaching our people around, Apple Pay, Pioneer, and how all of these work? Bitcoin, people are just thinking Bitcoin is just Bitcoin. For a Bitcoin has come in as a mode of payment. How does that really work? What are the risks? What is Stripe? To give an example, Stripe, look at how this company has grown. And it's a new company that was formed recently. But just look at how the revenues have gone up, $14.3 billion. What does Stripe do? How can we benefit from companies like Stripe? How can we start our own Stripe? And it's not only Stripe. We may want to look at the things that we are learning and look at how check payments values have gone down. This is Zambia. The checks are going down, but we still have people today that are spending hours and hours teaching and learning about checks. Checks are disappearing. Let's refocus. If we want to grow in the fourth industrial revolution, we have to be able to move in very quickly and say, what are the new things that are coming up? How do I develop myself? All of us, including myself as CEO, trust me, if I don't develop myself, I become irrelevant. In the next 3, 4, 5 years, I'll be irrelevant. I'll be dragging everybody else. We need to learn. We need to understand, what is ESG? Why are people talking about it? What does it really mean? What are these carbon emissions? What is carbon trading? What does it really mean? Where is the money going? What is this COP28? What are they talking about and everything else? We all need to be up to date. And for me, for example, like blockchain, I learned blockchain, there's, if you go back into history, Yap Island, they used to have this, stone money. Stone money for me is the first form of blockchain, and it actually helps you to understand blockchain technology so easily. If anybody wants to learn blockchain, go and learn about this stone money from Yap Island. It will be very, very, very informative. But these things, nobody will teach you in school because the syllabus, we are still teaching things that are, outdated, and we have to invest our own time to be able to grow in this, industrial revolution. The other one, which is very critical, is around culture. We need to change our culture. Culture, it's strategy for breakfast. We need to think about the way that we work. So this is an example. This was my office in Dubai, very big office with my own staff there and everything else. And after I got exposed to the Silicon Valley, to Google, to Meta, which was Facebook at that time and everything else, I looked at how the CEOs were sitting and working. They were working with their people. They were not having all these offices and everything else. And that helps to change. It is a revolution that has taken over the Silicon Valley. And even the dressing has changed. People are coming in, wearing comfortable clothes, sitting on bean bags, and so on. But it's helping to bring in their creativity. And I got on board. I changed my office. I made it into a meeting room. And I went and sat where everybody else was sitting, and that helped me to really connect with people and begin to do things very, very differently. So the culture that we have, I've gone to some offices, both a private sector, parastatals, and government. Sometimes, and I've been, sometimes I laugh with my team when I come back. I said, wow, that was interesting. Where you go into someone's office, and they are seated on their big desk, their big chair, and everybody else is far on the other side and, feeling like a king and, addressing the meeting and everything else. That is an old culture. Things have moved on. we are remaining in the past. The fourth industrial revolution is not only about AI, it's about everything being connected. The way we run our meetings, the way we connect with people, the way we interact, that has to change. Now, let me move to innovation, which is probably very critical. Now, on innovation itself, I talked about all of those things, but sometimes we think things are too complicated. Not only should we be talking about the robotics that are looking so complicated, including things like this. This is eating up into our productivity. I was traveling, even over not this weekend, no, the other weekend. The frustration of stopping on toll gates, and especially when you are late. How do we increase productivity if we are going to be queuing up? Queuing up eats up on our time. And it looks like, oh, yeah, you know what? Now we can pay without cash. That is not good enough. As long as you're stopping, there is technology like this one where you can be passing. You are driving at 120 kilometers per hour and the money is being deducted from your account. We are in the fourth industrial revolution. We can't still be operating like we're in the first or the second. Now, guess what? This toll gate that I'm showing you here, constructing it is far much cheaper than this one. This one is far more expensive. But somehow we are still in the old state. And for me, I'm really feeling like shaking ourselves up and really being hungry to say we have to move. We have to get on to the next stage. But people need to have information, because if people are still learning around the proconsuls, they're still learning around the grasshoppers, what are they going to construct? They're going to construct this one. They will not be able to catch up on this. And we need to move very quickly. Now, this is all interconnected. And I'll be able to talk about that very shortly. The next one, I think, is the way that we organize our work. It's technology. It is not only, or maybe the fourth industrial revolution is not only around, let me, have the best technology, the best toy, the best tool, and so on. No, it's more than that. It starts even from our day-to-day, the way we are running our own offices. If your office is like the one on the left or close to the one on the left, we are still very far. This paperwork, it eats up on productivity, it eats up on time. How are you going to sort out this work? And I see that. For me, I'm very allergic to paper. So in my office, it's a zero paper office, zero. If you come to my office, you find there's paper, I'm going to give you 1,000 kwacha for each page that you find. No paper. And it's doable. It makes work faster. It's very doable. Approvals quicker. How are we going to sort out this? And many offices, so wherever you are, if you're in your office today, just look around and say, what is all this paper doing? Can it actually be digitized? And the technology is there today to do everything, approvals and everything else. We have to catch up. And I know some, systems are monsters. It will take a long time. The journey has to start. In the fourth industrial revolution, it is not only about ChatGPT. There's some things we can do that are so simple to be able to improve our productivity. And the next one is around partnerships. We can't do it alone. So if we want to increase productivity, we have to think, how do we bring in? I've seen somebody trying to build a car and they want to do everything themselves. It can't work. If you look at, for example, Amazon Web Services, these are the different partners that they have, and they do things very quickly. You can get something done in seconds. Why? Because they have got so many experts that have been there, integrated into their system, that are able to serve. And that is why even in banking today, we are talking about banking as a service. We're talking about banking as a platform. We are talking about banking as a marketplace. So you'll be seeing this more and more. For example, you can find a bank on the platform of, now we need to get there, because I know some markets have already gotten there. So like, for example, I'll use Zambia as, chain stores, whether it's ShopRite, it's a Pick and Pay, it's any one of these chain stores. They'll have a bank as part of their platform. And they'll have a loyalty program that will be running there, and everything is integrated. We may also have a bank that has brought in other service holders or providers on their platforms, but it is all integrated. And all of these are helping to ensure that the service delivery is happening and there is productivity. I'll give another example. If you look at the cell phone itself, if we want to make a cell phone for us, maybe we may want to make it, we're going to make a Zambian cell phone. No. We may do the assembly, but the different parts may come from different places. And that is how we increase productivity, because somebody then specializes in one part, another person specializes in all of this, but all of this is all coming together, and our thinking has to change. Our thinking has to be around partnerships. Our thinking has to be around collaboration. Our thinking has to be around, where can I be able to win? And somebody else is winning in another place. And we're bringing all of this together. This will also help us to ensure that as we are looking at this, that we begin to relook at our working hours, because somebody has to work at night. Somebody has to work in the morning. This business of closing the roads during the day because something is being fixed, it has to come to an end. It has to be a no. I've had the privilege, and I thank God, I don't know something that I take lightly, of living in different countries, and I've seen in some cases where they're building a bridge and the road has never been closed. The road they're building, and somehow they've managed, you keep on passing 24/7. The cleaning happens at night. There are people who actually wake up to do that at night. We allow so much on our system that drags productivity, and we're okay with it. Those people, and please, I am not against any donations, but those people who are moving on the road on weekends and they are getting donations with a band, first of all, I don't know how much money is raised from those walks. But by the end of the day, how many people's hours have been taken away just by waiting for this band and this organization to raise funds with a team from motorists? Sometimes I can tell you, and I'm not just making this one up. Sometimes I feel like getting out of my car to go and ask them to say, how much do you plan to raise today? Okay, you're planning to raise 10,000. Please, here's the 10,000. Go. Let the people remain productive. Let them run. We are killing our productivity. We are killing our GDP. Let people run, because those few hours that we are taking away, it actually means a lot. The business of opening our shops at 8 and closing at 5, that is not productive. We have, this whole chain has to work, whereby security has to be in place. Let pharmacies be open. Let shops be open after we have knocked off from the office. What does that mean? It means that we'll be able to be productive, because if not, just today, because something is going to close, somebody was asking for permission to go and get something done because they know if I do it after hours, it's going to be closed. We have to get into a 24-hour economy, knowing that as we are operating in Zambia, in the day, somebody else is night, somebody else, us at night is going to be day. That economy has to work. The next one is around data and analytics. We're still doing this. It's for me, it again, it breaks my heart to see that we are still manual, including, can you imagine, even, the highest office that you can think of, if we are going to do any police clearance, we are going to do the manual way. Go and bring a death stamp or this ink, and we do that. No. This has passed. Our friends have moved on. We are still counting ourselves like this. We should stop. There are better ways of knowing how many people are there, and that is why we keep on talking about digitization, the digital ID, and everything else, because all of this is going to help us to drive productivity. It's going to help us to ensure that the time that we are losing, this time that is dead time, we actually take it away. And all of these, like I said, they all add up. It all comes together. Today, one Zambian per annum, we are only producing $1,300, between 1,300 and 1,400, depending on the exchange rate. Sometimes it even goes below 1,200. How can we get to one Zambian producing up to $50,000 or $60,000 per annum? We will not do it if we continued with the manual way. I'm conscious that we may need to leave some time for some questions, so I'm going to end here my presentation, and I'd say, thank you so much, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Sonny. That was a very, very wonderful and very eye-opening presentation that you made. I picked out one or two notes before I read one or two questions that probably have come through on our chat box. But I think I've made very important points that you have raised this morning for us to consider. You mentioned, I think, our labor intensiveness. I think we pride ourselves in being labor intensive, using tools such as horse when we are in the fourth industrial revolution. So I know one or two people here who join us and give a bit of some reflection. Yes, we want jobs, but should we continue using horse? Should we continue using people instead of advancing to other tools that are available for us to be more effective, to be more efficient? I also like the idea that you brought out from the examples of the presidents that you showed us, the UAE as well as the Singaporean, especially the one that talked about laziness as impossibility as meaning laziness. I think many times, I think even ourselves, we found ourselves talking about the impossible. You know, we cannot get this and that because I think it will take our jobs. We cannot do this. I think we can't manage. There are so many risks. I agree. I think that's a sign of laziness. We are on this transformative agenda, and I think we've got to be serious. I like the transformation that has happened in Singapore, in UAE. I've actually read that these countries, I mean, by 1964, 72, were more or less like us, and some of them were actually not even in existence if we talk about UAE. Just pure desert. But today, when you look at the transformation that has taken place, I think it's something that we need to take on. I also did appreciate the issue of being decisiveness. I think we just have to decide to be transformative. If we're just going to leave everything to flow, we allow people to do just what they want, I think we're not going to get anywhere else. I think this is a very important message. I also love the issue of the skills and capabilities. Talking about our curriculum, oh my God, I learned the proconsuls and I'm asking myself, what is it all about? What should we be learning in our schools? How should we align our curricula to the changing world? From the world of work, the world has changed. Technology advancement, climate change, globalization. But we are still in the proconsul stage. I think this is very important for us to be able to be responsive to what is happening in our economy. The issue of culture, everything else that connects to higher productivity. You've ably explained them. I love your zero paper office. As we were talking, our PS actually sent me a picture of how his office is. I think from now on, I think we need to definitely see how we can make our office paperless. I think we don't need that. We have to digitize. So I'm also very happy that you ended your slides talking about different partnerships we can leverage on strength of different people that are providing all these facilities or services for us to just become digital. So now what I will do is that I will just invite Director Cyprian Mayamba, who is Director of the National Productivity Development Department, as well as the President of the Pan-African Productivity Association, to give his few reflection. Then I compile the questions for you. But thank you very much. It was a very awesome presentation.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you so much.
Okay. Director Mayamba, I think the floor is yours. What are your reflections? We are on the fourth revolution, and Mr. Zulu has ably given us ideas on how this can be very, how this can implicate productivity growth in Zambia. What are your reflections on this presentation and the issues that have been raised in this meeting?
Yes, thank you very much, Yvonne. Thank you very much, Mr. Sonny Zulu, for gracing this event. We are really, really happy that you've actually broken down this otherwise very, very difficult subject into very, very simple terms that all of us can digest. I was actually very happy, sir, that you brought out very, very practical examples how, as a country, we can transform. You know, when we talk about productivity, we always emphasize that it is one approach that can work at individual level, at enterprise level, and even at national level. And I like the way you've actually given examples of how at these different levels, productivity can be used as an approach or methodology to transform. And I liked very much when you mentioned the case of Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew. You know, Singapore has actually even defied management theories, economic theories. You know, economists and management gurus are still struggling to understand how did Singapore develop. For instance, even Japan itself, who had provided quite a lot of support to Singapore, are still wondering that why is it that the Japanese quality management approaches, which worked very well in helping Japan industrialize, have had very difficult transitions to other economies except Singapore. And what probably is very, very clear in the case of Singapore was the issue of leadership, which you ably emphasized on. The leadership of Lee Kuan Yew is what made the difference. So the approach does not really matter, even if the best performing countries were to share with us their secrets. All right. Even in business, I think you agree that even in business, the very best top performing corporations in the world do not mind sharing their trade secrets. But what makes
I don't know if I'm
difference?
the only one who's not getting you.
No, I'm able to hear him loud and clear.
All right, so I'll continue. I was giving an example of how the best top performing corporations in the world can actually share all their trade secrets. They wouldn't mind because they know what makes a difference is they've got the leadership and they've got the culture. And if you don't have those, even if you got the trade secrets with you, you may not be able to compete at their level. I'm very happy that you brought out those issues, sir. And I think this then are the enablers for us as a country to be able to transform. The issue of the leadership, the issue of culture are very, very key. And for us, we're very happy that His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema has actually set the tone and he's been very consistent in all his pronouncements. He's actually emphasized on the need for us as a country to change the way we do things. In fact, he has even gone ahead to emphasize that the solutions to the problems that we face as a country are actually within our hands. And every country in the world will tell you that they developed, not that they received any support from elsewhere, but that it was the fruits of the labors of their hands that actually transformed those countries. It is for that reason that most of the top performing economies in the world are made of very proud people. They're so proud that almost to the point of arrogance because they believe in themselves. You know, they actually believe they actually can find solutions to the problems that they are facing. And so what we as a ministry have how we've conceptualized productivity in the national productivity policy is to emphasize first and foremost that we actually are able as a country to find solutions to our problems. We actually are able as institutions or enterprises to find solutions to our problems. Even at individual level, the same applies. I'm very happy, sir, that you broke this down very, very well. It's as if we had the chat before your talk, but you really have translated productivity in ways that are consistent with how, as a government, we've conceptualized it. And the bottom line, we want to make it digestible for every person. It makes sense for every individual in this country. Whether it's a toddler, it does make sense. In terms of their culture, how do we naturalize them into believing that they can actually contribute in a very, very big way to the development of this country? For the school-going children, you mentioned the issues of curricula. For our colleagues in tertiary education, these are the ones who are waiting to enter the labor market. How are they being oriented? For those of us already in the labor market, it's never too late. We too can still become productive and contribute even more to the success of our enterprises. Only then can we, like you said, sir, be able to sustain even the little jobs that we have, but even much more, create even more jobs, not only in terms of quantity, but as well as in terms of quality. And the fourth industrial revolution actually does give us that opportunity. Thanks, Madam Yvonne, for giving me the chance to just reflect on what our guest speaker today, our keynote speaker today, has well elaborated. We'll now allow if there are some questions, like you said, maybe from our dear viewers, which we can also hear from. Thanks a lot again, and I'll probably come in at a later stage in the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Thanks.
The questions that I have here, and I will also allow my colleague Eugene, who I am co-moderating this program today, to say something. So the question that we have today are that the first one is that we must first of all adopt a mindset change. So Sylvia Mansa is asking, are we ready for this mindset? Because she believes that for us to be able to get on this transformation journey, we must apply our minds. We must change the way we do things. So that is the first question. Mindset change. Is it practical for Zambia? The second question is relating to government. Government is a huge culprit of paper, and that's challenging for government. So is it practical? Then the third question that I have here is that this Godfrida Chanda, who is actually our PRO, who is joining us from home, is saying that I think if we have to get on this transformative journey and be part of the fourth industrial, we must take this dictatorship leadership without negotiating with the public on what needs to be done. This will give us a new cultural dimension of modernity. Now the question is, can this work? Then the last question we have is that how just do we implement this cultural transformation? This question is coming from Tenson M. He said, how can we influence this change in terms of transforming the order culture and the way we live? And he goes on to say, how can we also influence the changing of these baseless syllabus, like for African history in Lusaka? So, Mr. Zulu, maybe you can respond to some of these questions. I don't know if you got them, or I will be able to go through them if you need some clarification.
No, I got them. I got them. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let me start with the question on mindset change. I believe that there will never be any right time for mindset change that has been planned. Mindset change has to start immediately. The moment that we notice something and we have to change, we just have to. And for me, I say that we have to, all of us, get to a position whereby we are bold and confident to change our minds. If we cannot change our minds, those minds, they cease to be our minds. If it is our minds, we should be able to change them with no apology to anyone, with no, going to say, oh yeah, the people will say that I've changed. No, we have to. And that mindset change, it has to be driven as well by culture. It has to be driven by leadership. And leadership is very, very critical. So there's different stages. There's one which is organizational, has to be driven. There's also one which is personal. You just have to do it. And when you start, guess what? There'll be resistance. It is fine. And some people will be, there'll be even some frictions, because some people, I can tell you, when I started this zero paper, office approach, and some people will not understand, they'll still bring the paper. I said, no, but it's already here. I said, no, take it back. Go and digitize it and send it to me. It's painful at the beginning, but guess what? Once it settles, everybody then knows that, you know what, you don't go to Sonny's office with paper. He's going to send you back. But it has to start. If it does not start, we'll continue with our old ways. Government and paper, I know. I think there's so much of paper in government. My view, again, is it is doable. There's nothing that is impossible. It is indeed very, very doable, and we have to start. And one of the ways to be able to start doing that is to ask ourselves the question. So let me give an example. When I was appointed as a head distribution at one point, looking after the branches, I went on my first day, I found a pile of papers like this on my desk. And these were, reimbursements for interest, for cash advances from the branches, for the expenses. And I started working on that. I finished the pile. I come back the following morning. I found that the courier has delivered another pile like this. I said, no, I'm sorry. I didn't sign up for this. This is not a job I signed up for. I cannot. And listen, I'm sorry that it may sound like it's an insult to ourselves, but I want you to ask it. Because I said, excuse me, I went to school for 12 years. I went to uni, and now I've come, and my job is just to come and check receipts and signing receipts. I said, no. I said, no. This is not what I signed up for. This is, let's find another way of doing this. So there and then, it was me to do it. There was nobody, there was no one from the bank or anywhere who came in to say, Sonny, now I said, it's within my control. I'm going to put up this process. I'm going to delegate. I'm only going to approve amounts that are going up beyond a certain amount. And this is how we're going to manage this and everything else. And guess what? By the time 6 months was passing, there was no pile that was coming to me, and everything was still happening. So this also has to be an element of trust, an element of pushing down decision-making to where the action is happening and trusting people. If everything is going to be centrally approved, I was talking about that in one of my interviews, including CDF. If we're always going to be approving everything centrally, guess what? Money will be released, nothing, no project will be done. So we have to begin to push decisions. We ensure we empower people, we train them, and you'll find that all that paperwork that sometimes even comes our way, it does not even need to come. This parallel thing of happening, sometimes we send something electronically, and it's also coming in paper. The communication, the memos, and everything else, there are a lot of ways that we can be able to do that. The type of leadership, you know what? We can have our own democracy, which we can define as what is democracy. Because I am, yes, very much on the camp of, if we are too democratic, everything we are debating, including masks. There's COVID, let's put on masks, we are debating. There's a bridge we have to build, somebody's raising an injunction. We can't. There's no country that has ever developed with an approach where everything is being debated, everything. You go to parliament now, it is first reading, and then you have to wait now for another sitting, you go for the second reading, then you have to, when are we going to, you know what, countries that have already built roads, hospitals, infrastructure, they can afford to do that. But the time when they were developing, they never developed with this kind of governance. They developed with a different kind of governance, including, sadly so, including slavery. Because our people were moving from here, going that side. There was no democracy when they were doing those farms, the sugarcane farms and everything else. Now they've built everything. They can afford to say, oh, we have this, we can have, I'm so sorry to say this, you can have a joker comes in to lead for 4 or 5 years, goes out, another one comes in 4 or 5 years, they go out, and somehow the systems are working. We cannot be able to adopt what they have now after they've already developed and thinking we're going to use that to develop our own. We need a lot of hard work. We need a lot of decisiveness. We need a lot of push. We need a lot of decision-making that results into execution that we have seen. UAE has worked, Singapore has worked. So we have to find our own. So I'm not saying adopt Singapore. I'm not saying adopt UAE. I'm not saying adopt China. We have to define what does our democracy look like and how do we implement cultural transformation. I think this is also very, very critical. Cultural transformation, it has to be driven as well. There has to be leadership, there has to be communication, there has to be clarity, but also culture. You don't build culture in one day. You do it continuously, you continue to reinforce, you continue to do that. And we see that then people begin to see, oh, so this is the culture in this place. If I come to your home today, there's a certain culture that you run in your home. When I come, I should be able to observe it. I should be able to see it. But you're not going to change that culture in one day. It is a journey that we start on. And on the syllabus bit, for me, this is something that again, it calls for us to be decisive, taking out certain things. Even if we haven't filled them up yet, we have to come in to say, this is out, this is out. And today, the conversations like the one we are having today is very, very helpful. These conversations, I wish they'll be happening more, because we learn not only from class, we learn from meetings like these ones, we learn by going to see what is happening in the industry. I think we have to move very quickly, even without having the textbooks yet in place, beginning to say, how do we expose our young people to Apple? How do we expose them to Google? How do we expose them to banking? How do we expose them? Like I said earlier, so many things have changed in banking. And it is not only about debit cards, credit cards, current accounts, and savings accounts. So many things have changed, but they will take time to get into the textbooks. Let's bring them here. Let them come and see how does, all this, the switch, how does it work, and so on. So we need that decisiveness to happen without waiting for committees to approve even that approach. We empower. If it's the minister making a declaration, the minister makes a declaration, and we move. Thank you, Yvonne. I know there were so many questions, and I've tried to answer them all at the same time.
Yes. So thank you very much. I don't know what has happened with my video. I don't know if I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay, my video is gone. I don't know. So I think thank you very much. You've ably answered the question. There's another question. I think I'll allow Eugene to answer this one as he comes on the stage. We need to air this kind of a program on ZNBC at least twice a month. Eugene, you're in charge of programming of productivity promotion material. That is your question. So you can give your reflection and also respond to one of our followers who is saying this has to be aired on ZNBC television. And I think it aligns well with what Mr. Zulu is just from saying, that this is the message that every Zambian needs to hear, especially right now as we are moving towards the achievement of our goal, which is our Vision 2030, to be a middle and prosperous a nation by 2030. So, Eugene.
Thank you, Yvonne. And I think Mr. Zulu hit the nail on the head as he was saying, to say that exposure, really the movement from Pronkoso kind of thinking and moving together with the trendsetters of the world is that gap that needs to be bridged. So I think anyone who's been listening to this broadcast I think I'll be correct in saying that we have really benefited from the wealth of information and how you've been able to put this information together in such a simple way. I was going to ask a question about how do you get started, looking at how your office looks and all that, but that has been attended to. When you mentioned that you have to be, I'll paraphrase, unapologetically insistent on the standard that you want. And I can see, I think, when you're speaking 6 months down the line, things began to change. And I'm seeing myself, away from that Pronkoso kind of thinking as a result of this exchange. As to the suggestion on broadcasting it on the national broadcasting station, that will be looked at internally. But I do get the point. We need more people to be able to not just listen to these perspectives, such as the one that we've been privileged to listen to today, and but also just to appreciate this kind of experience and global context that people like Mr. Zulu have to share with the rest of us. So I think those would be my two bits. Just very, very happy to have been able to listen to you, Mr. Zulu, speak, and I walk away 10 steps away from Pronkoso. Thank you.
Thank you, Eugene. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Director. We are coming to the close of this productivity Z talk for today, where we're focusing on the fourth industrial revolution, which has been ably shared by Sonny Zulu this morning. Any remarks from the questions that I've asked that you'd want to give before we can give the closing remarks?
Yes, indeed, Yvonne, maybe just one question, which has got to do with, is it possible to go paperless in government? Yes, indeed, there is hope that government would one day be more or less, say, 75% paperless. For obvious reasons that maybe we cannot achieve 100% a paperless organization. But I'm very, very hopeful because there are a lot of strides that have been made within government. I'll start by, first of all, which is common knowledge, that most of our financial transactions now are actually digitalized within government. We no longer find most of the papers that we used to have before.
I'm so glad that he could join us. If you are facing any kind of disability, do let us know. So, because we are also learning in this process, and we should be able to.
So, just check for.
So.
Okay. All right. So, sorry for that. We also are actually at the moment in government actually having most of our meetings virtually. We actually even have some of the high-level meetings actually being held virtually. So that gives us hope. But also, most importantly, the issue of us transitioning to a digital world will require quite a lot of transformation in our mindsets. At the individual level, we've actually done quite well because, almost all of us have transitioned to the digital world at the individual level. All of us have mobile phones. We actually transact most of the banking transactions now. I think Mr. Zulu agree, are actually being done electronically. And if you can trust your entire life savings onto your mobile device, why can't you also be able to do your work digitally? Part of your work digitally, that is. So we're very hopeful that even as government, we are on that path. Probably the message and the marching orders is that we must accelerate. Already from what Mr. Zulu has presented this morning, we probably as a country are about 60, 70 years behind. So if we're going to catch up with the rest of the world in the next 10 years, it means that we'll have to move at a much, much faster pace. In other words, we'll have to accelerate in all our efforts to be able to transform the way we do things, to transform our governance systems, to transform our management systems, to even transform our cities. I think Mr. Zulu did mention the issues of productive cities. How do we ensure that our spaces are designed in a way that allows us to be able to carry out our work efficiently? And all those are subjects that are very, very important to this particular subject. And most importantly, I think what has been mentioned before by our president, that we all have to have our hands on the plow. We've always said productivity is like boiling the sea. How can you boil the sea alone? So you need concerted effort. So all of us will need to be at work if we are to ensure that we boil the sea, not only for a minute, but that we have to boil the sea consistently. So we have to all have our hands, our minds applied to this particular project. And I think, sir, you've actually ignited a very huge debate, which we may not be able to complete in this particular discussion today. But I think it gives all of us food for thought. And to just make an announcement, we'll soon, as the productivity team in the Ministry of Labor, we'll be launching in the early part of next year a program where we'll get CEOs like Mr. Sonny come together to share experiences. So we'll be having a productivity network for CEOs, where, because you don't have much chance to interact probably on a quarterly basis, we'll be bringing you together to share these experiences in terms of how do we transform our institutions, not just our institutions, but also how do we transform the entire ecosystem, because the contribution that we make is not just for enterprise, but that it should be for the bigger good of the country. So we'll be announcing how that will go about, and we'll be glad that in that forum, we'll have much more time to interact and share experiences. Otherwise, we're most grateful that you joined us this morning for this show, and I'm very, very admirous of your office. At first, I thought it wasn't real, and I was trying to say, is that a real background? But I could see that indeed it's a real it's a real office. And I think I need to send my team to your office to come and see how that is possible, because we'll have to go and preach this message to the rest of the world. Otherwise, we're most grateful. I cannot even show you my office right now, but I think give me a few months, I'll be proud to show you my office. Thank you very much. Over to you, Yvonne.
Thank you very much, Director. I think that's the policy you've put up, that we have to go and see that office. I think I am up, for this study tour, a paperless office. So thank you very much. I'll give you, Sonny Zulu, just a few minutes to give your wrap-up points for this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I think we've talked about productivity at organizational level, maybe departmental level, company level, and country level, and so on. Even at an individual level, it's very, very critical. Very important for you to look at how you're spending your time between your home and the office. A lot of times you're spending time listening to music and watching videos and everything else. Think about how you can be productive. There are a lot of podcasts, a lot of books that you can be able to read, including audio. Invest in that. And also, please note, there's so many, the world is now global. There are a lot of people that I know today that are based in Zambia, they've got jobs in the US, they've got jobs outside, they're working even odd hours and everything else. Just ensure if you do that, you're okay on your taxes and you have followed the law in terms of how you are accounting for every income. Not only that, but also even your customers. Your customers are not only in Zambia if you're in business, their customer is the entire world. Today with a fourth industrial revolution, you can be in Livingstone selling those handcrafts to people in Germany, in Italy, and everywhere else. You just need to know, how does this global economy, global world works? So, and if we all do that, that is exports. Foreign exchange will be able to come in. Productivity for Zambia is going to come in. Let us all go out there and be productive. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And, wishing everyone all the very best. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, Director. And thank you, everyone that participated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've come to the end of this Productivity Z360 talk, where we featured Sonny Zulu, Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director, Standard Chartered Bank, PLC, Zambia. So please subscribe to this channel for more productivity discussions, and we'll be able to join us. You should be able to join us next month next month, the first week of the month, and that should be Tuesday on the 5th of December. Please subscribe and click on the notification button to have more of such kind of discussion. This is our country, and we want to improve productivity for a better Zambia. So until next month, thank you very much for joining us, and God bless you all. Bye.